We're back with another weekly recap, and we're going to jump right into the good stuff, and that's the leather wallet. When we finished off with the leather wallet, we glued everything up, and next up was the stitching. If you see in this video right here, it's a traditional saddle stitch, right? I had to stitch the top portion of it where the opening is at the top, and then back stitch that, and then do another stitch all the way around. With that saddle stitch complete, all that was left to do is clean up the edges and get those nice and burnished. So I went ahead and took some sandpaper. I started out with some 200 grit sandpaper, as you see me going right here. And then I finished up with some 400 grit sandpaper. That got all the layers nice and even along the edges. And as I had said in a previous video, one of my goals was to get those edges to look pretty darn seamless. So I'm getting those sanded up to get all those edges nice and flush, and then pulling out the burnishing gum and the burnisher to get those edges nice and smooth. And I'd have to say those edges turned out great. Once I was done with the edges, I did a little bit of touch up with the dye, added a little bit more finishing and polished it up, and then it was all done. And I actually have it right here, and it turned out amazing. So we have the front spot here where a driver's license can go. Right now I've got my Homer Simpson driver's license in there. We've got a back pocket here where some credit cards can go. At least 2 or 3 credit cards can probably fit in there nicely. And then we have this center portion here where you can put a little bit of cash. I actually have 3 versions of this wallet now, with the final one turning out beautiful. This is the first one. I hand cut this. It looks terrible. I hand stitched it, hand punched the holes. This started out as a natural color veg tan leather, which I dyed myself, and I used the wrong kind of dye on it, so it didn't work. I used like an antiquing gel on it. This is when I didn't know what I was doing. So that's why it turned out not dark at all and very blotchy. You can see my lines are horrible because this is one of the first things I ever cut by hand on leather. That's the first version of it. The second version turned out pretty good. I cut this one on the laser. I cut the holes on the laser. I saddle stitched it by hand, but a few of the dimensions were slightly off as it was my first test. I didn't round over the corners like I did for the final one, which makes it look a lot cleaner, a lot more professional. But that's 3 versions of this wallet. If anyone's interested, I'm considering batching out a few of these final versions and putting them up in my online store for sale. That's it for the final version of the minimalist veg tan leather wallet. I'm going to call that project done. We started out by cutting those paper templates on the Cricut to test to make sure the sizing was okay. And then I moved to cutting out the actual leather on the laser, dyeing that leather, cleaning up some of the edges that I wasn't able to get to once they was going to be glued together. And then I glued those together, did the saddle stitching, and cleaned up the edges. And that was the end of the wallet. With the leather wallet complete, it's now time to shift gears into my 3D printed Lego compatible letter series. So we've done A, we've done B, and we've done C. So next up is D, and I'm printing D in eSUN pink PLA filament. This is a nice bright pink filament, and it's a beauty to work with. I didn't have any printing issues with this. I actually bought this roll a while back for a different project where I needed pink. Worked out great for that project, and it worked out great for the letter D. With D complete, there's a lot more letters still to go. So if you guys can drop down below in the comments and give me some more suggestions on what brands and colors of PLA filaments I should use for the alphabet series. Finally, I want to suggest to you one of my previous videos that I've put out. This one is where I DIY a backpack rack. When you come into my mudroom of my house, the kids have stuff quite a mess. And so I wanted to get the backpacks organized so I wasn't always tripping over them. With 4 kids, that's a lot of school backpacks that got dropped on the floor every day. So I built this wonderful backpack rack. It is the first project I ever worked on that turned out exactly like I had pictured in my head. And so it is my favorite project of all time so far. It's made out of walnut with a beautiful message in the middle. And I encourage you to check it out right here in this playlist of all the videos that I've talked about here. And that's a wrap for this weekly recap. Don't forget to drop down below and subscribe. That way you won't miss out on any videos. And don't forget to turn in next week to see what I've been working on. Happy making!